Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we did the anti-penultimate flight to the International Space Station, and this episode we're going to do the penultimate flight. So we need to do 2 IROSA launches, and what we need to do for those is we need to get the rollout solar arrays set up. So let's take a quick look at what that ends up looking like. So as we can see here, this is the IROSA panels here. I believe that these are only deployed. IROSA 2B and 4B are deployed here. IROSA 3A is here, and this is IROSA 4A. Okay, so this is not a finished project at this point. However, we could finish it because this is going to be, I think, eventually finished, and all of these are, I think, planned to be covered with IROSA panels. So we could definitely end up doing that. So I want to hop into the VAB here, and I want to do a little bit of planning work on what we want this to end up looking like. So we're going to be lifting these in Falcon 9s. So first things first, we're going to open up the saved Falcon 9 here. So let's see here. Falcon 9 IROSA-ish will be okay. So we're going to open this up, and there's a lot of stuff in here that we need to eliminate because we were working on other things. So let's get rid of all of this. There we go. And this is just a stock Falcon 9. I'm going to call this the IROSA. This is the IROSA 3 and 4, although I think this is actually like, I'm going to call this, because there are 4 IROSA panels currently on the ISS, as of December 2022 anyway. But that's fine. We're I think going to do 4 per flight here. It's not going to be exactly realistic, but I'd like to get this project completed before we move on. So that's the way that that's going to go. So that's absolutely fine. And we can just do like port and starboard side. It doesn't really matter. That's absolutely okay. So I want to decide what solar panels we want to do for that. So let's put in a couple of Gigantors. So I'm going to put in a Gigantor here. Actually, I do want snapping on. I'm going to put in a Gigantor here and a Gigantor about here. That isn't actually connecting there. Sure, we'll just put it about here. This is just to model how these are roughly set up on the ISS. This is not going to remain. So this is how these this is like one solar array on the ISS. The IROSA should extend to about here or so, and should be considerably smaller. I'm wondering if these 1x5s would be about the right size. So let's consider putting that about right there. It's a little too long, but otherwise I think it's decent. Let's see, the 10C is basically the same, or actually it's that, right. And then the 1x5, the 1x6 is much smaller. I think we're probably going to end up having to use the 10L. So this is 8.3 electric charge per second, and the Gigantor is 24. This is obviously not exactly how this is going to work, but I think we just bring 4 of these up. So we can retract this solar panel, we can bring 4 of these up, and we'll just insert those. We might want to bring along with us some truss segments, specifically going with something like, probably not cubic octagonal struts. I think we would go with like modular girder segments in truss mode, or rather in insulated mode. And then we can use that to place these like so if need be, or just attach them, you know, somewhere out over here if need be. Just as a bit of an ability to have a little bit of extra space, right? That would be the idea behind this. So we would bring these along, and we'd bring 4 of them. They're kind of big to fit into our bay here, but they do actually fit fairly well. I'm going to retract this solar panel, and we're going to want to bring 4 of these. And we could just have them clipped together like this. We're going to install them with Kerbal engineering. So that seems absolutely fine. So we're going to call this the IROSA 1 flight. This is not really the name of it, but that's absolutely fine. We'll call it good there. And the question is, can we recover this Falcon 9 booster? We'll see. That's going to be an interesting project for sure. We have managed to recover them in the past, so fingers crossed. Let's go ahead and put this out on the pad, and the Irosa 2 flight is actually going to be identical to this. We'll just install it on the other side, and then that will be the end of the ISS for now. So that sounds absolutely great. We've been working on the ISS for a long time, and it's very laggy there, so I won't be too sad to see that project completed. That'll be a very, very good thing. No doubt about that. So let's get this loaded into the pad, and we're going to launch this off to the ISS. And, of course, we need to remember how to fly the Falcon 9. It does have very specific requirements. We're going to set the ISS as the target. Skipping circularization sounds good. Launch into plane of target, 300 kilometers, and engage that autopilot. We're launching in 23 minutes, and the question is this going to be a land or a sea landing? We can do both, in theory, as long as I don't mess it up. We'll find out. That'll be an interesting thing, of course. We're going to need to do our turn off of our booster stage at about, I believe we were doing that at like 12 seconds remaining. But for now, let's go. Excellent. So we roll to azimuth, and we will begin our gravity turn shortly here. So we've got a while, of course, that we're going to be burning on this first stage. Looks like we are going to have a water landing. Okay, so that'll be a little bit easier than a land landing, for sure. And we'll see if the next flight is a land or water landing. That'll pretty much be luck of the draw. We have succeeded in both a land and a water landing for our first stage. So that is a very good sign. The question is, can we pull it off this time? And that's going to be the perpetual question for a Falcon 9, right? And we're going to have similar sorts of questions when we go to Starship for the Artemis program. That's going to be a spicy one. We'll see how that goes. But we're not quite to that point yet. We've got a few more flights. More specifically, 2, including this one. This is the penultimate flight, after all. So we've got about 40 seconds of burn time here. 35 seconds. We're going to do our detachment at about 12. Actually, I think we were deciding to do that at like 10. Somewhere around there. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'll split the difference and go to 11. But we want to get a good amount of velocity here. Yeah, we're getting a lot of speed here, and we want to push our apoapsis height as high as possible in the meantime to buy us some time to get into orbit. So 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Okay, there we go. So pretty high apoapsis height. I like it. That is very, very solid. And we're just going to be leaving the booster for now. We will be back to it, but we need to get as much horizontal speed as possible right now. I'm going to physics warp as we work our way through the atmosphere here and this burn. We are now in vacuum, so that's great. And our apoapsis height is going to very slowly creep upwards. And this all looks good for the moment. Okay. 200 kilometers, and we're going to see 300 very shortly. We're skipping circularization, so that's absolutely fine. I'm going to take us out of physics warp. We are going to see our apoapsis height going up fairly quickly from here. So that sounds good. Okay, I expected to be there by now, but it's very, very close. There we go. Fine-tuning the apoapsis, and we can leave this coasting for the time being. Now we need to head over to our first stage, and we're going to get this in position for its re-entry. Excellent. So we want to move this over to surface velocity minus, and we want to deploy our air brakes and enable the pitch and yaw. There we go. We can physics warp as we very slowly turn over to surface velocity minus. Excellent. And we're going to re-enter the atmosphere eventually. We can see surface velocity minus is changing on us as our vertical speed goes up, which is unsurprising. Our horizontal speed is going up right now too as we fall. That is very, very normal. Okay, we are nearly in position here. We're going to be hitting atmosphere shortly. Okay, we are now officially in atmosphere. We're going to be doing our re-entry burn as usual at about 40 kilometers, and we'll just burn until there's about 7 seconds of burn time left. Okay, just a very, very small re-entry burn there to orient us. Cool. And now we're just waiting on our air brakes to do their thing. We're coming in pretty fast here, it feels like. But now we're starting to decelerate. We may need to burn a little earlier. It feels like we're coming in pretty sharply here. But we'll see. 9, 8, 7, 6. I think we're okay here. Yeah, we're slowing down pretty considerably. 4 kilometers. 3 kilometers. 2 kilometers from the surface. Starting our landing burn. Okay. We're just preparing for this burn. Okay. We just need to slow down pretty considerably, and there we go. It was a little bit awkward, no doubt about it. And we do tip over, as expected. We don't have a barge to land on. So that's absolutely fine. That is a successful recovery in the water. Water recoveries are, of course, simpler than land recoveries. So that's okay. We don't need to worry quite so much about our speeds. It's just a little bit more forgiving. It was definitely a little bit spicy there towards the end. Had to concentrate a bit, but it's all good. So we'll get that recovered. That should be about 33,000 or about half of the cost of that flight coming back to us. So that is phenomenal. Now, I think slightly under half, but very, very close to half. Once we factor in the return of the actual dragging capsule, it will be over half returning. So that's beautiful. We're going to hop into the tracking station. And of course, we need to get our primary mission onto its out of its suborbital trajectory and onto its orbital trajectory. So let's take a look here at our inclination first. Can we merge together our orbital and inclination change burn? Actually, yeah. We can do it about right here, splitting the difference between the two and bringing this up to about there. And then also tossing in this burn. I suppose we could delay it to be about here. And that would be reasonably fine. I mean, this is not exactly circular, but it doesn't need to be. We're just in orbit and in the correct inclination. That seems good. I'm not concerned about that. We can always fix our orbit if we need to, but I don't think we're going to need to. We'll be able to just find our interception from here. It should be okay. So we're going to warp on forward to that burn. That'll be a slight inclination change and just putting ourselves into an orbit. And this is going to be 264.4 meters per second. Sounds great. We'll do that in 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. And off we go into orbit. Fantastic. Okay, we are officially in orbit now. But we just want to continue with this burn. We want to get that inclination change done, after all. The inclination change is almost the more important part of this. Almost. Okay, this should be good enough. And yep, that is pretty solid right there. What would it look like if we were to do this? This is the wrong timing, definitely. Yeah, pretty wrong on that timing. So let's do after an orbit, and somewhere around, it's going to need to be like out over here. Yeah, somewhere around here or so. Of course, this being a non-circular orbit makes this slightly awkward to do, but this is good enough, I'm sure. 13 kilometers, we can definitely work with that. We could dial that in a little bit, but we don't need to dial it in too much. That's about 7 kilometers. Sure, 7 kilometers is good enough. So we'll hop over to this node. We're going to need to do an orbit. That's no concern. Absolutely fine there. And let's bring this on around. This is close enough anyway. Cool. We're now about a minute away, and let's warp further. Well, I'm just letting this align a bit first. 50 seconds, and 40, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. And off we go to the ISS. I'm not sure what our relative speed is going to be, but we're going to want to keep this second stage for the time being. Okay, what's that relative speed looking like? 75.6 meters per second. Okay, that is not too bad, all things considered. Let's warp to about here, switching over into target modes. Cool. And we can do a bit of a corrective burn out over this way. We'll keep an eye on that separation. So a corrective burn is going to end up being somewhere around here. Let's put this in kill rot. Thanks. Okay, where are we? There we are. Gotcha. So somewhere around here. Yeah. Our relative speed is going up, but we don't mind that right now. There we go, 0.1 kilometers. Not bad at all. Let's go to relative velocity minus. That's going to be in about 40 seconds, so we'll be loading into the station very soon here. Yeah, we're about 4 kilometers away. So we'll just align for this burn. We can do a bit of a correction to it here, but I'm not going to do that yet. We're moving at 109.9 meters per second. So we're going to see this loading in very shortly, also known as goodbye frame rate. Okay, so the frame rate is, of course, going away. No shockers here. The frame rate is not great at a station of this complexity. Actually, this isn't the worst frame rate I've ever seen when we first load in. It's bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not literally the worst. Okay, we're just going to continue to close in a bit on the station. We're going to need to start braking fairly soon. I'm going to put us into kill rot here, and I'm going to begin our braking burn now, and I'm going to do a little bit of a corrective burn here. Okay, switch to relative velocity minus. There we go. And we'll just align for this. That did correct us a bit, and I do want to be burning again. And we're just going to bring this down to about 1 meter per second. Okay, that seems decent. So this is the velocity that we are heading in, so we should be relatively clear here to ditch this stage, which I do want to do. 452 meters, I am going to turn us away from the station a bit, so we need to go out this direction. And I want to eject it in that way. So I want to eject it out away from the station. And let's get this ejected now. Okay, so that's going to get a little bit of momentum out in that direction. It's already going to miss the station, but that seems absolutely fine. Let's move this to relative velocity minus. And we need to come in towards the station a bit, right? So let's just warp here and get a little closer to the station. Okay, we're going to need to change our velocity here via RCS. Ooh, things are inverted. Noted. Okay, inverted RCS is fine. We can work with that. We're now headed towards the station, approximately. There's going to be some drifting here. But yeah, that is much more towards the station. And we're going to want to install these iRosas, right? So we want to just kind of pick a side here and decide where we're going to do this. I am noting that we are losing speed towards station, so I want to point at target. This is currently... yeah, we want to point out over this way. And I want to accelerate a bit towards target. We just are a little too far away. We killed our speed a little bit too effectively. So we're going to bring this in at around 1.5 meters, maybe 2 meters per second. I think 2 meters per second will do. Okay, so we'll just do something like that. And I'm bringing this up a wee bit. Okay, something like that. We can, of course, dock this. We don't necessarily have to. I'm going to open up our shield here, but yeah, we don't necessarily have to dock this. I'm not sure what we would even dock to. This is a large docking port, and I believe at the ends of these is a small docking port. So that's, you know, not necessarily the best thing in the world. Let's warp in a little bit closer here. I suppose we could just dock it up right here to this docking port. That is a viable option. Yeah. So let's just get ourselves a little bit of momentum out in this direction. And we're going to head in towards this docking port. Actually, we want to go a bit this way. I was a bit wrong on what direction I thought we were facing there. That's fine. So we're just going to bring this guy on in. And we're going to dock up here, and then we'll do the installation, I think, next episode. That'll give us a chance to restart the game and hopefully have a reasonable frame rate. Hopefully. So that seems reasonably fine for now. We're just working primarily on getting ourselves into the correct positioning out over this way. So I want to get us some momentum in this direction. I also want to do a little bit of braking here. We're moving a little too fast. Okay. So we're just getting some momentum out this way and aligning up over this direction. It just needs to be a rough alignment. And we're going to install... I don't think we're going to need the truss segments. That's okay. We brought them just in case. We're going to install the iRosas right like that, right? And that'll be reasonably fine. Okay. Getting rid of some of this momentum, we need to bring this back a bit. Which is, of course, exactly what we're looking to do. And we need to go a bit towards target. I think we still need a little bit more speed out this way, though. Braked that a little bit too early. And we need some directionality in this direction, too. Okay. So that'll be fine. We're just letting ourselves align up reasonably well here. And then we're just going to dock right here. And then we'll do our installations from there. We'll have to move parts around, but that's absolutely fine. No concern. Okay, let's bring this on back. Hang on, we need to go, I believe... Which way are we going here? Hang on. I'm having a hard time with directionality right now. This way. Okay. I'm heading in towards target right now. Now we can see where our directionality is. Okay, cool. Now that I know where our marker is, things get much easier for us. We, of course, overshot this a little bit, but I'm going to head in towards the target point here at about 0.5 meters per second. And I want to change our orientation here. Our orientation is part of this problem. So we'll just align ourselves about like that. Okay. Figuring out what direction everything is. Looks quasi-reasonable. So we need to go this way, specifically. That's okay. We can definitely do that. So we're just heading on in towards this docking port, and we'll just get docked up, and next episode we'll install those iRosas. That sounds great. That orientation was awkward, no doubt about it. I'm going to start bringing this back very shortly here. In fact, I'm going to do it right now, and we're going to head in towards the target. We're slightly fast here, so I'm braking us a little bit. Okay. That looks much better as far as orientation goes. How are we doing on vertical orientation here? I feel like we're a little too high, so we need to bring this in the down direction. Just a smidge here. Cool. We might bounce off of this. We'll see what happens with that. Okay. Hang on. Was this not the down direction? I don't think that was the down direction, but it's, I guess, okay. This is the down direction. Cool. That's more like what I wanted. I think our orientation is definitely not perfect here. Let's bring it out over this way. Docking forces might do the trick. No, they're not going to. We just need to bring ourselves ever so slightly over here. We did bounce off a little bit. That's okay. This should dock very shortly here. Yep, there we go. We are docked. We're also wiggling around a lot. I'm going to put us in physics warp, or rather in time warp to stop that. But we're going to need to install these iRosas as soon as possible. Excellent. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode we'll install one set of iRosas, and then we'll bring this on home, and we'll get our final set brought up. You can leave your offering to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kintogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.